Ade Oladipo, 1212. Yes, we are.
Fabulous.
Good.
Live.
Jamie, can you check? Are we both in shot?
Your head's not
That was for the outtakes. Ade,
Yes. Here
thank
we
you
are.
for sitting down with me.
Not at all.
And
No, not
this
at all.
has been quite a rapid opportunity because I messaged you a couple of months ago, didn't I? And
Yep.
said I'd like to sit down with you and have a little chat because you're the man. Like
No.
you're the man in the middle of all the stuff. So you
Yeah,
interview
sometimes.
everybody else.
My God. Yeah, so it's so weird. So apologies if I try and take over this interview and interview you because I'm just so used to interviewing people. But no, look, I saw you and I was like, oh, we got to do something.
Yeah.
Because I remember the message a couple of months ago. So it's finally good to meet you.
Yeah.
And well
lovely
done for
to hear.
being at this as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a woman of manifestation at the moment.
Good.
So I say it and I make it happen. Which
Love
is
that.
fabulous.
Yeah.
And it's I love boxing so much. I'm a boxing coach, so it's something I do for a living.
You know, when I realized you loved it so much, Tony Bellew just walked past and she grabbed Tony and I thought she was going to say, photo. Said, I got your book and I read it and your book's great. And I was like, no one's read Tony Bellew's book. So the fact that you've read that shows that you are truly a boxing fan.
I love it. I love everything about boxing. I love the mentality. I love the sport, and I just love how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
When I do it.
Yeah.
I never got to fight. I've got a heart problem, so it got in the way of my ability to be the fighter.
Okay.
But it made me much more passionate about being here and having these conversations and being at these events because it's that thing that I couldn't do it myself.
Yeah.
But I can really embody the whole thing. So
Yes, you know, it's interesting because when I was not working in boxing but watching it as a fan, I used to critique the fighters a lot. I used to sit on a green chair and say this and that about them. Now that I see them and see what they go through and the pressure and behind the scenes and after fights and the damage and the hospital visits, my respect for anyone at any level is now through the roof.
yeah.
That my days of critiquing people and saying they should have done this, should have done that, are just like, no, because it's such a difficult sport.
They say that they lose, especially at a grassroots level, they lose 50% of their energy just by stepping through the ropes because the pressure suddenly,
Yeah.
the environment, everything. I mean, what's it like for you always sort of being in between the dialogue, in between you see them before, you see them
Yeah.
after, do you build personal relationships? Do you get do you have your own favorites? Like, how
Yeah.
does it work for you?
That's probably the hardest part for me is the personal relationships because I do have favorites. And when I'm in the middle, I guess I've got to not be a favorite. I've almost got to be impartial. But there are some fights like Bivol. I'm the biggest Dimitri Bivol fan in the world. And when he was fighting against Peterbiev, I just caught myself ringside screaming for him. And a few people looked around and I was like, because I forgot. You know what I mean? You just get carried away with it. But there are certain few that I'm favorites of. Obviously, AJ. I think that's more from a sort of British Nigerian thing. Boatsy, because I know him personally. So you do have favorites, but again, I respect so many of them, all of them. And every time I'm getting nervous about doing something, because I do get nervous, I always think, how are the boxers feeling? And that kind of gets me through it. Like they're about to go and have a fight, and I'm nervous about reading a line on auto cue. So yeah, my respect for them is through the roof.
Yeah, well, my respect for you is through the roof. The way that you always navigate, the way you handle, the way that you kind of direct conversation, because you're working with big personalities.
Yeah.
And tonight was a case in point.
Oh my God, and they shut you down straight away. like Chris shut me down, and I'm like, okay. And you can't even say anything because it's his moment.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm not even there. They don't want to hear from Ade, which is true. They don't want to hear from me. I get my opening monologue, which I just say, and then really and truly, I almost want to be in the distance and let them go at each other. And the one on Tuesday, I barely said 4 words. This one I probably had to say a bit more.
Yeah.
But it's difficult when you've got two big personalities like Eddie and Chris, and they're just, and you think, okay, should I jump in? What do I do?
Do I stop this?
Yeah, exactly.
How long does this go on?
The director's in my ear saying, okay, Ade, move on. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
What do I do? I say,
Have
Chris,
you met this guy?
Yeah, you tell Chris to shut up. It's impossible. So it's tough, but again, I'm just so fortunate to do it.
Yeah.
So as much as I think, I'm nervous or it was difficult or I slipped up, I'm like, I'm center stage at some of the biggest events in the world. And 10 years ago, I was working for Islington Council. So this is it's a dream job.
Well, yeah. Well,
There you go. There you go.
That's sick. Well, I think also, I love boxing. So I study boxing not just from the technical standpoint, but from a mindset standpoint. I read energy, so I love to analyze like how people are carrying themselves, how
Yeah.
they carry their emotions, and I can read it pretty fast. And I notice like you must have such a centered sense of self to be able to, and I mean this is a big compliment by the way, put down your own ego in those moments to let these other egos kind of battle it out for the shining position. And I think so props to you because it's not that must not be very easy when you've got all these conflicting noises and voices.
Oh my God.
To be able to just just gently navigate.
Yeah, you can have this. I'm happy to kind of pass it like a hot potato. Like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I only want it for like a second. Then feel free to have it
Yeah.
for your 5 minutes. But again, the story's about the fighters. It's not necessarily about us. And I kind of maybe years watched Jim Lampley do it and Max Kellerman, and it's not about them. And they dealt with massive egos.
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather, you know what I mean? Canelo, Oscar De La Hoya. So this is kind of easy.
Yeah.
Those, I mean, as much as these fighters are good, and I point to Chris and Connor, it's imagine the ego of Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just have to learn. I'm still learning. I feel like I'm still kind of new doing that. So I'm still learning. So it can only be improvement. I'm like you. I'm very much mindset and holding myself accountable, and all that kind of stuff is so important to me. So yeah, when it does go wrong, I'm like I kick myself. But when it goes okay, like today, I feel like okay, we've done our job. We can go home.
Yeah, you can also breathe.
You can breathe and go home, get a glass of wine, and like okay, we're done.
And on to the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't even get time to rest.
Yeah.
I remember I did a show in Manchester. I'm in
weekend,
Belfast.
Right? Yeah.
I remember I did Manchester, Jack Catchall. Literally drove home, and I'm not complaining, guys. Drove home, airport, straight to Saudi. And obviously in the Saudi events, you're working every day.
Yeah.
You get to Saturday, you're done. Then obviously we flew back, had to do the press conference, then this one, and then as you heard, Belfast on Saturday. So it doesn't stop.
I think we should probably just take a minute to appreciate Ade's skin, like the fact that he's just listed off the busiest schedule and he's shining. Like
what is going
I
on?
would look
Almond
like
oil and coconut oil mixed.
I'd look like an 8-year-old woman at that point. Like we need. You
know what it is? You know, because sometimes you don't even feel like it's work when you do, but at the same time you're ringside watching the best fights in the world.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, because the seat I'm in, you can't even buy that ticket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's inner ropes. So I'm super blessed. I am so lucky because not anyone can do it, but everyone, if given the opportunity and given time to practice, can do it.
I agree. But I do think that you bring something to the table that's very special. And I've said that to you in message when I've messaged you. Like I study what you do as well, because evidently I quite like to do this thing too. Because you know, as a woman in the sport as well, I tend to want to learn. Is
it harder? Is the barriers to entry more difficult?
The barriers in this side? Actually, no.
Okay, good.
What's been interesting is I think being a woman has actually opened doors faster for me.
Oh, nice.
So I feel quite blessed about that because I'm a rare entity.
Yeah.
And actually in a coaching world though, as a coach, it's grassroots.
Like, what do you know? Yeah, like what do you know? You're a woman.
Yeah, misogyny, belittling, bullying, sexualization.
Yeah.
So that's been tough. But actually walking into the big players, it's there's been a warmer response so far.
And I saw a few females scattered around today.
Yeah.
Because before it started, I kind of had a little walk around. I'm like, okay, there's at least 10 that are doing the thing, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And I like it. So maybe they have sort of heard about the barriers to entry not being as brutal. And maybe you come in, you get an opportunity, and fighters will have a sit down with you or talk to you. So it's good to see.
I think also women's boxing in general is like on the come up, which means that more women who are just in their everyday lives are seeing people who look like them doing the sport, which gives them permission to try the sport. I mean, I've been doing boxing since I was 18. I sort of fell into it. I was a dancer, was dancing in the ring.
That might help.
Yeah,
I think that helps.
It does help. To me, pad work was like choreography.
There you go.
So it made sense to me.
Yeah.
And so this journey happened, and boxing saved my life. 100%. Boxing saved my life. I went through a very bad patch, and that was the thing that kept me on the straight and narrow. And I think that's the story for a lot of people.
Same me. Yep. I mean, from a different standpoint, like my thing was my YouTube channel saved me. Like when there was no money and sort of mental health I thought, okay, I'm just going to press record and talk.
Yeah.
And doing that every day, talking to a camera just like this was like, and then you get a few people out, oh, this is amazing, and that kind of made me feel good, and you continue.
Validation.
You get that validation, and it's awful seeking it, but when it does come, it's nice.
Yeah, because it gives you the green light that what you're doing is the correct pathway,
and
we need that when we're down and out, when we're like,
we need a bit of that.
I'm just literally talking to my camera. I don't know. Like, I think I know. I'm enjoying it, but I don't know if this is going to be beneficial to anyone. And then people start to click and look what you've done.
It's crazy. Honestly, it's crazy. It's crazy to go from there to there. And in my head now, it's weird. Like the goals are now so much bigger.
Yeah.
Like the goals are like, I want to host a World Cup.
Yeah.
I want to World Cup. I told my agent the other day, I was like, World Cup. I'm just like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, there are no limits. Like you can, if you really, really, really kind of tell yourself you can do it and you put the work in, you can do it.
100%.
You can do it 100%.
And I think also, like you just said about limits, is that we are we are the limits of our environment. We are the limits of our circumstance. We are the limits of the voices around us. So if you can push away and quiet that, you can find your own voice, and you can actually start realizing that if you want to get something, you can get something if you work for something. But you've got to put the
100%.
effort and the energy. And manifestation is not just writing things down and sitting in a prayer position.
Yeah, like in 4 years, I'm going to do it. No, you've got to work. But that manifestation, it's the starting point.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, really go and genuinely believe you can do it. If you don't, if you set small targets, it's all well and good, but go for the biggest.
Oh, yeah.
And work
something
backwards.
Stupid, crazy.
Like, go for something ridiculous.
Yeah. And then,
like what Chris said. Like, you know, he asked Turkey a number that he thought was diabolical.
And
he got it.
Right. Yeah.
So it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah.
And I think that's the magic of it. Look, I don't want to keep you too much longer because you've had a long day.
We've got to do this again.
Yes, I'd love to do a long one.
Yeah, like a proper hour sit down about life and how we both got into this.
We'll put a table
everything.
here, and you'll sit either side, like you have to do with
drink?
everybody
Do you drink
else.
wine or anything?
I'm a old fashioned. If I'm going to drink, I'll have an old fashioned.
I'm a whiskey. So it's a whiskey. I normally do a Woodford Reserve or something.
Come on,
ice
we're going
cubes,
to do that.
and we can do it. Honestly, we
okay,
should set up.
That'll be amazing. One more question before I go.
Go ahead.
Do you have a favourite moment?
Oh, favorite moment. It's probably interviewing Gennady Golovkin.
Okay.
In Vegas. You know when you feel like, have we made this or not? You know, like, oh my God, we might have made this, you know.
Yeah.
Because he was fighting Canelo, and they had a couple of American journalists interview Canelo. And it's like, who's going to interview Golovkin? It's like, Ade can do it. I was like, what? He's like, I was like, and I Golovkin high, and we sat down, and so, Bivol giving me his jacket.
Stop it.
Bivol giving me his jacket after fighting Canelo. Because in Vegas, everyone was like, Canelo's going to beat Bivol. And I was like, no, I'm Team Bivol.
Yeah.
And then after the fight, he found out and he took his jacket off after the fight and gave it to me.
No, stop it.
Yeah, so I've got
Was
that
it one
jacket.
of those moments where you were like, cool, have a little cry in the corner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know when you just watch the video back and I framed it?
Oh,
and now
people
precious. Knows, like, now every time I see him, it's like, Ade. So I'm part of his
lovely.
team pretty much. So
that's special.
Yeah, so Bivol and Golovkin moments.
That's amazing. Ade, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
I know your schedule is busy, your time is precious, so I really appreciate you.
Thank you. And well done with this. Well done with the channel.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with it.
Thank
you.
It
will get there, innit? It will grow. You're going to look back at certain videos and be like, wow, we had 100 views. Now look at us, 100,000.
Yeah, 100. That's what I keep holding on to. And I just saw Majestic, DJ Majestic, and I said to him 3 months ago, I said, I'll be with you at an event soon. And we did the yeah.
Love
literally
that.
3 months later, and so I gave him a big hug. I told you.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's how fast.
Manifestation.
You know it.
Manifestation.
Ade, you're a legend. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you. And there's going to be more of this soon.
Yeah, so before you go though, you know you got to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Make sure you do it. All helps.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
A true YouTuber.